Ladies and gentlemen, we haven't wasted a lot of time. Game number 2 already starting right the hell now. My name is Dragon Drop. I'm still joined by Skim here for LGD versus Avicii Gaming. Avicii sitting on the top of the charts here for the Dota 2 Professional League until now. Here 12 and 2, I guess 12 and 3 now with that last game that LGD ended up winning, and it's so important for them. Puts them up at 8 and 3, and every single point that they can get now as we're drawing towards the end of the season is going to be important to determine whether they'll make that cutoff for the playoffs. So this one's going to be important as well. If they can stack a second game, that would be quite the upset, I would say.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But this is also a new draft, and oh man, I literally just wanted to talk about this. But I was hoping that VG Gaming would go for the immediate pudge. It is something that or not immediate, but they've picked pudge for quite some time now. They feel really comfortable with it, and I absolutely love watching them play with the pudge. So it's a good pickup, and I think this will shake up things a little bit. I mean, it's already a different draft than we've seen just now. Monkey King has been led through. And obviously the pudge is also new, so hopefully this will be an entirely different game. No more Naga, no more song.
I don't think with Monkey King you necessarily want to go back to the Naga, but hey, who knows? Who knows? MK, of course, was banned in that last game. Not this time, though, so we'll be prepared for the FPS drops when he uses ultimate, by the way. Always great fun for a caster like me, who then just gets
Yay.
thrown out of loot, thrown a wrench like that. But hey. Taking a while to think about the second pick here. I mean, Crystal Maiden, Pudge. How do you respond to this? Just pick tanky heroes, mobile heroes?
I think you want to go for something maybe like an SK. This is something that LGD have done so for quite some, and as I say that, but I think you want something that is survivable in the offlane. You want something that has kill potential in the mid game as well, together with. And I guess Clockwork works. It could also be a support Clockwork, by the way, since Yao has taken on the support role for LGD, and he has played Clockwork a lot, even as a support, I think, at some point. So I guess it could work. Crystal Main is pretty squishy, and it's good against Pudge because Pudge, pushing him away, it's a good way to cancel his ultimate. So
Seem a little greedy though, right? You already have the Monkey
it
King.
It is pretty greedy. It is pretty greedy.
Yeah.
I think even as an offlaner, it would.
10 seconds remaining.
Well, we'll find out as next bans come out. So VG Gaming focusing on this mid lane, taking out maybe Selena from last game, as well as that Venomancer and the Shadow Friend making an appearance. So
Yeah,
very
VG
standard
Gaming not kidding around.
draft. Yeah, and there's some decent synergies just out of the laning stage, right out of the gate, with the Crystal Maiden adding the mana to both Shadow Fiend and the Pudge, really. They can spam hooks, they can spam razors. So they're setting themselves up for some decent lanes and some decent early roaming to then just snowball off of that.
I wonder if VG Gaming will go for Shred, maybe pick up a Core Venge for End, which they also like playing. Yeah, the Shadow Fiend also, there's some indirect synergy in the sense that if you do ulti or if you do hook somebody as a Pudge, you just want somebody that can burst down the target immediately. Shadow Fiend is one of those heroes that can burst down pretty much any hero, both with physical and with magic damage. He's a solid laner, and against the Invoker should be an interesting matchup. I do think that Invoker tends to have the upper hand, but
yep.
I mean, we've seen so numerous times that mid lane matchups like that are rarely 1v1. We'll probably see Crystal Maiden and Monkey King roam into the lane.
Pretty much. I mean, looking at it in a vacuum, Invoker should probably take the cake. I mean, you start off with so much more damage. Shadow Fiend theoretically should be unable to last it for the first couple of levels until then can maybe catch up with razors or something like that. And at that point, Invoker has high levels in Cold Snap and Fort Spirits, perhaps, something like that, Sunstrikes and whatnot.
Alacrity as well. Alacrity, it makes it just really difficult to last it against him.
So, but yeah, as you said, Pudge, of course, looking to roam around, put on some pressure, especially in lower levels, to make sure that Shadow Fiend can get that good start. And yeah, that'll really just switch things up. Also with the Monkey King, of course.
Interesting that they would go with something like the Weaver. I think Weaver is a bit too squishy, just because the LGD do have the Clockwork and Invoker. A lot of, I wouldn't necessarily call it burst damage, just because Clockwork doesn't really have burst damage, and Invoker, I guess Sunstrike counts as burst damage, but I do think that Weaver's a bit too squishy in those team fights where they do have a lot of sustain and a lot of they can deal out a lot of damage already. Monkey King Invoker, that's a lot of damage to deal with. They have a good crowd control as well with the Clockwork.
Yep.
So maybe Weaver can work, and I think especially in the laning stage, it's going to be good. Clockwork will not have a great time in the lane, and this is why I also don't like Clockwork right now. I think in the current meta, it just doesn't offer too much. He doesn't really have good synergy with anybody, at least in the lane. So it makes it really difficult and awkward to lane. He can't really fall back into the jungle and farm either. So I think in the laning stage, VG Gaming will have the upper hand here.
It's definitely Clockwork's biggest weakness because like he's only good in lane again in certain matchups, and you don't really want to throw a support next to him all the time in disadvantageous matchups because he really needs these early levels. And as you said, yeah, even with Iron Talon, it's a little bit awkward to jungle efficiently. So yeah, we'll see if they make it work. Monkey King, of course, still in the early phases of him being in Captain's mode, can throw a wrench into a lot of these kind of type of things, and maybe help set up some kills up for the Clockwork. The Lion as well,
LGD,
so just going
yeah.
all out on the control, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good pickup. I think it's a really good counter towards the Weaver. You do have those two disables. It's also good against Pudge because you definitely want as many disables on your team as possible to make sure that when he does find somebody, he cannot just ulti him without any repercussions. The burst damage is really good against Weaver and Chris.
Yeah.
So the Shadow Fiend is going to be pretty squishy, even if he has that Dragon Lance, it's still not going to be enough to really tank through that ultimate. So I like the pickup, but I mean there are issues with Lion, of course, as well. In the landing stage, he can be really squishy and vulnerable as well. He's not best zoner either. So if VG Gaming pick up an offlaner that can really synergize with a Pudge and be really aggressive in the lane, Lion may have some issues. And I think this is where VG Gaming can not necessarily win the game, but get a head start, just have a really good, solid laning stage. And it looks to be as if they have that just yet. Though I guess, LGD, Invoker and Ember Spirit are two laners that also traditionally fare pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what LGD seems to be focused on, just getting both the Invoke as well as the Ember Spirit off to a good start with the supporting cast around them, and just setting them up for glory in the mid game going forward here once Invoker gets his levels. It might be a while though, depending on how lanes actually end up going with the Axe now as well. So a lot of pressure, a lot of aggression coming out from VG that's LGD may or may not be able to deal with. I mean, Monkey King, we've seen him a bunch in DPL especially, and he can make crazy things happen. But if you are able to start to turn around and fight him, then he actually turns out to be paper thin. If you can get just a little bit of control and just a little bit of damage in.
For sure. This could be the most miserable laning stage this line has ever had.
Yeah.
Axe Pudge is really difficult to deal with. You will never be able to really zone him out. Monkey King is also not great against them necessarily, just because his damage output is pretty much it's non-existent in early levels. It's all about the slow really and the pressure that you can apply on the lanes. So
yeah.
I wonder how LGD is really gonna lane this, and I hope that Vici Gaming try to play really aggressive with Pudge and Axe and make sure that they get as much out of this laning stage as possible.
Well, I gotta say I like VG Gaming's draft a little bit better for these reasons that you outlined. It's definitely gotta be on LGD to survive through it again and try to outplay in the mid game, which is a tall order against a team like VG, I suppose. But definitely not outside the realm of possibilities. Game number 2, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, LGD won a 45-minute Naga game just a moment before. Now they're looking to maybe try and snag another game off of VG Gaming. We're sitting at the top of the charts in DPL right now. My name is Dragjob. I'm joined by Skim.
You know what could be great, and it just occurred to me? It's actually they could, and well, as I see N moving towards the bottom lane, they could also put the Weaver up against the line and the Ember Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
They could contest the farm. I'm not sure if it's actually better than having the Axe here, but that could be really good. If they have a pseudo tri lane where they have DDC and Weaver, and then roaming, and then they have the Axe solo against the Clockwork. There's nothing Clock can do against Axe really 1v1. And if they can contest the farm from the Ember Spirit, they can make sure that Ember Spirit does not have a good laning stage.
Yeah. I actually really like this. Ember, not exactly known to be the best laner himself. You've already talked about how the Lion is not going to be able to do too much, even with the Axe here. It's really true for anyone. Doesn't have a lot of damage to throw out, it's very slow. Earth Spike, sure it's a great disable, but it's on a rather long cooldown for these early engagements. And yeah, even contesting Rune already smoked up, and if DC gets off to good Frostbite here on aim. Not quite fast enough, so just gonna have to settle for the one right click, but they do secure the Rune. Meanwhile, Ult 11 got the one on top, so...
Yeah, with Cogs pushing out Yang. Guess that's
like,
a little bit annoying, but...
How's he missing so much mana? He hasn't even skilled the spell yet, but of course the Cogs push back. Ult 11, yeah, it's just looking to drag the creeps.
No.
Farm them on the safety of his own tower.
Pretty much the safest thing he can do in order to secure or make sure that he can get a little bit of farm. If Yang, yeah, I think Yang's doing the right thing as well. He's pulling his creep wave to the, or he's pulling the enemy creep wave to his own. It's not gonna work though because Clockwork caught up to that.
It'll be interesting to see creeps clash here at this river entrance. But yeah, not gonna happen like that. I guess Axe doesn't really care too much, or not as much as other heroes. He can still just farm the creep waves up by his lonesome.
Thing is though, one of the creep cams got blocked by a sentry. He can't even pull that.
Yeah.
And the small cam is not gonna be enough to pull, so this might actually be a really good start for Ult 11. I may or may not have underestimated this laning scenario. Though I guess I didn't really account for the whole pull thing.
Well, once the levels start to come out, it might be a little bit more dangerous for him. The calls, extra spins.
Yeah, but Ult 11 I think is gonna constantly make sure the spins are always gonna be an issue, but he will unlikely ever have enough mana to go for a call.
Yeah.
Ult 11 can always burn through his mana. It's pretty easy against Nax, mostly because he's melee.
So how's his bottom lane going? As you would expect, I suppose, End making ends meet themselves. Taking the CS lead 9-1 as opposed to the 4 CS that AIM has been able to snag away, but yeah. Lion, we already see Yao having to play very, very defensively.
Yeah, he tried to go for a pull, but there's not really a lot of
it's not really... Might be taking things away from End, because he's still sticking lane, but... And it's kind of diverting those resources a bit to the supports. That's all it's doing, really. Yao cannot contest it.
And End is making it really difficult for Ame to... Well, it's already pretty difficult without a quelling blade, for example, but End is making sure that he can deny as much as possible. And that's why Ame is sitting at only 6 last hits.
No. Well, HYM sitting in mid, so is Monkey King though. It's both sides looking for a bit of a wraparound when the opposing hero goes a little bit too deep. Problem is Monkey King can only jump so far, and if Ori is sitting in the river, he can't actually reach him with the slow.
This'll come in handy.
Yeah, this is really awkward for both roamers. They're just sitting here, they're sitting behind the enemy mid laner, you know, yeah, maybe I can do something, but the only one that can really do something is HYM, but he gets spotted out.
Yeah. Pinged up by maybe staying close to the left hand side. Nothing would come with that, especially with DDC also rotating in. Guess he can at least jungle farm. But ultimately you're just wasting some time here.
Yang is now, the sentry ran out for Yang, so he can finally pull, or attempt to pull. But, Ult 11, he actually cogs himself with Yang.
A lot of damage being done here.
Battery
Battery Salt's still going for a while. This might be the first blood, and it will be. Almost on roll 11 here if he gotten another spin off before the Battery Salt takes came through, but... Well, this lane now squarely in favor of the small little Clockwork Goblin.
Yeah, it worked out for Ult 11, but if he had gotten a little bit unlucky...
Oh, TP mid, Ori is so low. The last right click will actually be enough. Maybe. 2 points up on an Axe Sword, only hitting for 100 damage, give or take. And DDC's rotation didn't change that, so good on them. Another
Alright.
kill going away for LGD, and yeah, if they get this early laning stage, how does this change the dynamic that we
Oh,
were
nice
talking about?
hook.
Oh god, what? There it is. Actually gets him down to the low ground. Monkey King has to watch helpless. No boundless strike, no mana for it.
I wouldn't really have done anything anyway, so this is a really good kill for them. But in general, this laning stage is, I guess, it's still going well
He even
for
dies now.
Oh.
HYM finds him too, catches up to him, and even with an arcane rune, so hooks for days.
And he
Early
even
sec-
forced out the TP from maybe to that
Yeah.
shrine.
Not the biggest deal, I think, because it's
Yeah.
Creeper is a little bit of a dangerous position anyway. So maybe
Oh,
got
they
the
seem
bounty rune
TP, they
instead.
seem TP.
Oh no, hook at the ready. Let's throw it out. He gets him.
He
Yes,
finds
just as he jumps onto the tree. M99, Victoria
And
unable to go to the
deward
shrine.
sentry.
Oh no, they get it too. Yeah.
So they kill him for 183 gold, and they take another 100 gold because of the sentry. HYM's Pudge. Oh, see, this is why I loved it when they picked him. It's just really enjoyable to watch.
Starting to be super effective as well.
Yeah.
Supports. And he's looking again. He finds Zokan. Maybe
Another
he's just
hook.
not ready for this at night time. Now raises
have
here
a
and there.
cold-
Not enough
ghost
slow
block.
anymore, but not enough hook. Another hook, but yeah, he gets close enough. A little bit of extra space there from the boundary strike. But it's not enough.
They-
Now
they
Victoria, he
go
might
for
just
Victoria
sacrifice
as well.
himself. A couple of raises here and there. The hook, just a
And-
little bit of a pat on the back, nothing else.
And there's a shrine waiting
Oh,
as a
man.
reward.
This started as 2-0 for LGD, but now VG Gaming, just on the back of the Pudge, also than anything else, able to get so many things done for themselves.
Top lane, Yang has not been getting lucky with his spins. He tried to go for a call, but he didn't get a single spin off in his call, and actually he's getting ganked now.
Yeah, there's some help coming through. Ult 11. Well, there's plenty of dire creeps, and also making rotation through. Yang still starts to fall, but now gets the call off. A couple of spins here and there, and the dunk before he dies himself. Ult 11 now, and a TP out. Has the bug nibbling away at his armor, but not enough damage to actually finish the job. Turns into a 1-for-1 trade. Support for a off-lane 3 position. Or safe
I
lane
don't
3
wanna-
position, whatever.
I don't want to write it off to just luck, or lack thereof, but this axe has not gotten lucky with his spins.
Yeah.
Feel
Kind of
really bad for
goes
him.
both ways at times though, because Clockwork's
Right, of
battery
course, of
assault,
course.
it's maxed out, so if one of these things doesn't hit on
Bottom
the
lane.
target, instead hits on a creep, then you're missing out on quite a lot of value. But
DDC's looking for that frostbite.
he is aimed
Not
at level
sure
6
it's gonna
yet.
be enough to kill him. They might need a punch here.
Now with Frostbite, if Axe is close enough to go for the follow-up call, I think it could be enough.
You definitely want to get a kill on Ame before he hits level 6.
Oh,
but
they also want to get a
this-
kill here on Ori in mid. The hook, though, from HYM puts Old 11 under the tower. Now DDC ready with the Frostbite at the right time. And then one raise, not quite enough. And the second raise will not actually reach him here past the cogs, so he'll be able to keep himself alive. Now Ame also making a rotation here. Chains on 2. Patch will die to him, and so does Ori. Aim with a double kill, salvaging his lane situation. Now N wants to try and do the same thing. Hunting for Old 11. He's sitting down lower health, but he also caught a glimpse of every other hero on the side of LGD.
2 heroes solo, and they get a shrine as well to make sure that they are back in full shape. That is really unfortunate for VG Gaming, but also really good with
Yep.
making sure having a TP this early on. That was really crucial.
Yeah. Even without level 6, and I think he just got that in that fight.
Yeah, he just
It's
got it in the
not a
fight.
common rotation for level 5 Ember Spirit to make, but yeah, he's just able to walk up, gets his team chains on 2 heroes. Even though it's on level 1, it just was enough to tip the balance with the 3 points up and the Flame Guard also taken away. And now found himself an Invis Rune. Finds DDC and HYM inside the jungle, pings him out, he wants to get the kill. Maybe with a Sunstrike they can finish it off, but would be very dangerous, and AIM might not have survived the aftermath.
And now HYM and DDC smoked up. Don't think this is something that LGD would be expecting, just because they just saw them at the camp. Well, as I say that, maybe he's moving very defensively tree line, so
He got hooked like
perhaps
2 or 3 times this game already. Like he doesn't want to have
he's
want
had
that to happen
enough.
again. Yeah. Just one of these things,
Oh.
especially if you haven't played against the Pudge in a while. But now
HYM.
it's- oh, he
Oh,
gets a creep. All right.
Just a second too late.
It's one of these things, maybe you haven't played against Pudge in a while. And then you just have to get back into the mindset. Oh yeah, there's Pudge in this game, I don't see him, so I have to be wary of dodging hooks. But now, Yao gets close enough here with that that cold snap, Sunstrike to follow with the extra control. And maybe gets his revenge.
Yeah, well played. That's a good kill to have. Having the Pudge off the map makes sure that you can play a little bit safer. Like you said, there's a certain mindset that you need to have against a.
Yep.
It puts you a little bit at ease knowing that he's dead. But as I say that, he immediately TPs back into the mid lane and he wants blood. He wants Invoker blood.
He does have Ori here with him. Some damage that you need to follow anything up with.
Really interesting decision from Ame to actually TP aggressively against the Weaver. He knows that he can lane against the Weaver now. In the early levels, I think Weaver had the edge just a little bit, but once Flame Guard is up, level 4, it's really difficult for Weaver to deal with this. And if he gets caught out in a chains, he might even need... Actually, yeah, he did use his ultimate for that.
Oh yeah, it's on cooldown now. I mean, there's no easy way for Weaver to take the Flame God off. Even with 4 levels in Shikuchi, it's only 150 damage, which is enough for level 1 Flame God, and that's about
basically,
it.
Yeah, it's basically impossible to get rid of Flame for now.
Yeah.
And yeah, he even has a raindrop and he's down to 1 shard.
Sometimes you just burst through those charges so quickly. But he has the Aquila going, has the treads, so not going for the Bootless Weaver build. Realizing that he needs to be a little bit more effective just with the stats and attack speed and whatnot. Now smoked up with HYM and DDC. They're looking for maybe again.
Yeah,
Ult 11 also smoked here, and there it is. They get the hook, but they also follow hook from Ult 11 here, maybe on a good position on the edge of the fight. Great stun there from Yao, setting up on a couple of heroes. Ult 11 still alive now. Wukong's command, the lag comes through, but VG Gaming able to walk out of that AoE before it really affects them. But still, great fight for LGD. They dodge a bullet there, and they even managed to shoot one off themselves.
Ult 11 predicted that gank. He pinged out the fact that there was going to be a Pudge the second before he hit the hook.
Yeah.
And that is just really good awareness from LGD in general. They smoked up also just before that, so Vici Gaming was not aware that they were going to be there. And this is just a lot of time wasted for Vici Gaming. They do want to find... I mean, we talked about this in Joff, right? They want to be more aggressive in the landing stage, and they've been trying... HYM has been really effective in the early game, but now for like the last, 3 minutes now, he hasn't really found a kill at all.
Yeah. All of that is time where LGD's heroes get further and further ahead. I mean, even Ult 11, he now gets tapped by Ult 11, but by N, I want to say. He's been doing quite well in his Clockwork. Already level 9, already found a hook that's been worthwhile. Maybe not as many as you sometimes see in some Clockwork games, but that's worth remembering. This is maybe not the easiest one for him. They still had an impact. That is, yeah, just talking about it. Found another, just as we talked about it, found another one, Ult 11. Yeah. It's like the reverse Casus curse right there.
And this is the strength of the Clockwork. I guess this is also something we talked about in the draft. You know, he suffers in the laning stage, but when he finds those kills or when he finds those hooks and he gets rewarded with a region rune,
yeah, Ice Rock smiles upon him. So you make good plays, you get rewarded. It's as easy as that. Yeah. I mean, so he's doing well. At the same time, Invoker had the Midas going for a while, so maybe he's right on track. Has a boost of travel recipe queued up, so that'll help him bounce around. After that, the axe, and then things get really problematic. And AIM had quite a horrible lane, really, but he has the Veil up now anyway. Might be looking for his own bots.
The lane wasn't even that bad for him, to be honest. Sure, the first, I want to say, 2 to 3 minutes were really bad, but then because of the rotations from Pudge and Crystal Main towards the mid lane, Ame was really able to, farm effectively. He actually, when he rotated into mid, he was among the top last hitters as well, so it's really not too bad for him. And this is something that Vici Gaming has to be concerned about, because they're not really pulling ahead like they wanted to.
Yep.
In fact, if you look at the net worth, they're actually behind.
Yep.
At least, they're behind pretty much every account. And this is not great. This is really not good. And Axe, he had a really good laning stage as well, or a semi-good laning stage. He had a fairly early Blink Dagger. I think he picked it up 2 minutes ago. But he hasn't been able to find a kill. They tried to walk up for a kill upstairs on the top lane, didn't find one, and he has just been farming since. So this Blink Dagger is effectively, what do you do with an 11-minute Blink Dagger if you don't go for a kill?
Might as well be a 40-minute blink tag at this point, right? If you
Exactly.
think about it. So yeah, in the bottom lane they tried the same thing. They tried to go for kill. They even propped the scan under the tower, and they did see aim. But once again, the good game sense from LGD came through, and he TP'd out.
It feels a bit reminiscent of the last game where LGD was able to spread them and try to avoid these ganks as much as possible. And now even more so than because they don't even want to look for fights. Because last game, you know, LGD, at least 4 of them wanted to look for a fight and give Ame the space. But in this game, both the Ember Spirit and the Invoker kind of want to farm up a little bit before they want to go for fights. And I guess you could say that Ame is ready now with a Veil, but I think he probably wants the Blink Dagger first.
Yep.
Top tower is under attack.
Right. It's again Vici Gaming with this 5-man movement here. They will find something now. They get the taunt just at the edge. They misses the call. Misses the dunk, I should say. But they still get the kill. Old 11 sitting on the side. They do have an Ender Spirit Remnant. Don't really think they want to fight this here without Monkey King.
I think they could. DDC or not DDC Yao. I look at Lion and immediately think of DDC. That's one of his signature heroes as well. But yeah, I think they could have fought, and I don't think that if you're LGD you want to give up a tower just like that. Vici Gaming. It feels very reminiscent of the old game, of the last game, where they just grouped up and checked the objectives because they don't really know what to do. Which is kind of weird because they have a completely different lineup, and I think they're very much potent of other things this time around. I think Yang can for sure look for kills on his own, or just together with the Pudge.
Yeah. So far, hasn't really been successful, and as a result, once again, I mean, sound like a bit of a broken record, but LGD is getting all the time in the world that they need. Another regional for Old 11. This time not as efficient, but still builds up his mana pool a little bit. Tori even has face boots, and now finds DDC, cutting him off at the very least as he realizes that he might be done goofed. Yeah. Maybe making an appearance, so DDC will take his build. Maybe they can get the... Oh, he's still alive for a little bit longer, forcing them to commit, and that will lead into counter kill on the Monkey King. Ult 11 even forced to hook defensively here. The Bucks still keeping track of him and angling for something more, but then, yeah, don't want to dive into maybe like that.
But look at Vici. They again pull out. They could have, you know, tried to maybe force a fight at the tier 1 tower, but no. They rather want to just play it a bit safe.
Old 11 gets caught. They have enough damage here. The hook will miss. So, oh, nice Cogs actually pushing the Hutch away. SF actually gets killed by the rest of LGD. And Old 11, he wins the man fight here with the help of Yao. Now DDC and HYM, they're looking for this Lion kill. They will be able to get it, but at what cost, Skim? At what cost? The Wukong's command comes out. They'll get the Pudge. The rest of Vici Gaming forced to try and walk and limp away.
This is not looking good for Vici Gaming. LGD is pulling ahead again in this game, and they're winning these fights with little investment, really. They don't need to put themselves in any harm. Maybe can just casually Sunstrike and Meteor the SF, and with the Midas as well on their side, it is scary for Vici Gaming that they're falling behind like this. Soon the Midas advantage will kick in as well, and then know what? They're gonna have a Invoker with an Aghanim soon.
Yep. Closer and closer, eclipsing the Shadow Fiend and net worth, and this is one of these indications that you always used to be able to look at back when Shadow Fiend was super popular, before the Raze was nerfed, before the jungle was nerfed. Like, you saw Shadow Fiend almost every single game, and you saw the same pattern, right? Jungle stacks that he was able to raise down and then get like 2, 3, 4k ahead compared to everyone else. And this is the kind of place where Shadow Fiend really wants to be, right? You want to be a menace, but even if it gets a little bit harder, if you're behind, it's even worse because you feel like you can't do anything. You're not tanky, you don't do a lot of damage, you don't have the freedom in the fight to to be how should I put this? Like to be something for LGD to really worry about. Bottom lane though, okay, HYM finds Okon maybe. No follow-up though. Now the rest of LGD might still even be able to catch him here with Victoria slowing him down, and yeah.
Yeah, this game in general, if you're SF, just to come back to that, SF in general won't feel really great here. All these heroes are really annoying to deal with as an SF. They have so many disables or just spells in general to keep him in check. You know, they have all this crowd control again, something that Vici Gaming actually don't have. They only have the axe and the punch again, and I guess the Crystal Maiden, but that's not a lot. Whereas LGD, pretty much every hero has some form of crowd control that makes it really difficult for the SF to really play around. And he just blind TP'd into the shrine. Oh, that's ballsy.
Yeah, Vici know that there were a couple of heroes around here because AIM showed himself. And, well, it works out for them as they have their entire force in this general area, and LGD, well, they did not, so they lose Yao.
But yeah, for SF, this is a really difficult game. You're gonna have to pick up a BKB at some point pretty early. Yeah, it's actually queued up as the next item. Imagine having to pick up a BKB as a second item. That's an awful situation to be in. And even then, it's not that great of a pickup because they still have Clockwork Hookshot, which goes through BKB. And the cogs as well, it's like a really good counter control ability.
Ouch. That didn't take long at all. That was a jump in and triple remnant. Meanwhile, Old 11 finds a hookshot on Yang with a battery assault going. Needs a little bit of extra help though. Sunstrike already used for kill mid. So, I don't know to do that for Yang, but AIM still going strong here. Finds a double chains and Victoria there just in case with a primal spring. And all of a sudden, that's 3 heroes down instead of just 1. Free tier 1. So some extra money going in the hands of maybe in the rest of his team. And
yeah, this is just really well played from LGD. I think Old 11 has been playing well. He's finding these openings and he's always in the right position, it seems. Like the way he's been moving, it's always as if he's reading what the enemies are doing. He knows where the enemy supports are, which is really important for him. And it just makes it so... he makes it look really easy. Just the way he finds these hookshot kills makes it really look easy. And it is something that Vici Gaming just need to be more aware of. They need more... I mean, it's going to sound really easy if I say that, but they need more vision for him. And the vision they do currently have is... There's 2 words that... Do they really give you information about the... work, for example? It's nice defensive vision if you're farming in your jungle, but...
that's all it really does.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
This is also the indication that you see that Vici Gaming know what position they're in, and now Old 11, I think he saw the bugs flying across.
I think he did, yeah.
So...
Although I think if he did, I think they would have moved there, wouldn't they? Because I think they can 100% contest.
Yeah, they're smoking it up now, but they're not walking
I don't think
way.
they saw it. I don't think they saw it, otherwise they wouldn't move like this.
Yeah.
Or they expect them to TP to the bottom lane to defend this tower.
Maybe. I mean, Shrine's still up. Maybe. It's the only one showing himself for the time being. Victoria on the side. Plant some water on. Yeah, it looks like that was the plan. But so far, Vici Gaming not falling for that one.
You say that, but Ame, he fights these 2 supports.
Yeah, blinks in, focus on Crystal Main. Sunstrike actually hooked out of it, so they need to throw down another remnant or something else. Try and catch up, but DDC somehow able to walk out of that one. That's on a Crystal Maiden, that's a very impressive feat.
I mean, he's been making a good job of 10 or 11 stick charges.
Yep.
So that was pretty nice. Old 11, he denies the
Oh, wow. What a player.
Cheeky little bugger. And they can't even punish him for it, because Yang can't just blink on him, and because that's just, you know, you're not gonna kill the Clockwork like that.
Well, top lane might be a side of something else. Ori's there. They don't see... Oh, they don't see the Monkey King here. They have to swat up on the high ground. They try to catch him, and they don't quite. And in fact, Zweaver dies first. Now the Hex and Control and Axe keeping him away. Meanwhile, more TP's coming through. They really want to get this kill. TP out. Cold Snap is there from maybe. And with some spins, he actually gets a dunk off on Monkey King. A little bit too close, but...
Still a double kill for maybe, though.
That's still a very scary situation to find yourself in. Ori was able to extricate himself there at the very least, and don't lose the Aegis just yet. But yeah, it's... Vici Gaming, they're the team with the Aegis, but they're still losing fights like this. So decisively.
LGD is just always one step ahead. It was Vici Gaming, they're trying to look for a gank, you know, they have the... But I guess they didn't really account for the Ember Spirit. And the Weaver was just overzealous, got caught out, and that is just Vici Gaming just always sort of like running, you know, running one step behind LGD, trying to catch up, but the hookshot misses. Can they even get Old 11?
Old 11, he's very many heroes, gets the cogs up in good position though. VG Gaming, they smell blood though. They
He still has a
maybe
hook
want to
shot.
make something happen. Might get Yao instead, I guess.
He has cogs in 2 seconds. I'm not even sure they can get Yao. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they're gonna get away with murder. Not murder, but they're gonna get away regardless. I think LGD want to fight at this tower here. They know that they have the advantage, and
Still is Swati though on the high grounds, and LGD is not spotting that out, so VG Gaming know exactly what's going on.
yeah, I think.
There
if,
it
oh,
is.
no, all right. Hey guys, there might be war here.
Yeah. Oh man. DC still sticking around. That's about it.
If you look at the net worth, it's actually not that bad. It's what they're 7k behind, or I guess
6K.
LGD is 7k ahead. But that's not bad considering that is also an advantage of what 3 towers. Yeah, roughly. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
2 towers. They're 2 towers ahead, or 2 towers behind, I guess.
It's not the end of the world, but like most of the net worth is on the axe, and so far Yang hasn't really been able to get so much done.
Right, but still, it means that in terms of power levels, I guess if you want to call it that way, they're not that far behind. You have to also consider that what 3k gold is on 2 Midases on LGD's side. So in that sense, VG Gaming is not behind by that much. And if they were to fight, they were in some.
Hook shot
never
lands here. Sunsword comes through onto HYM, so there'll be casualty any moment now. The Shrine actually keeping alive with Force of Cross and the loving hands of Yao. Now Tornado cancel that ultimate immediately. Wukong's command comes out to finally get the kill, but at what cost? LGD lost 2 heroes, but now AIM starting to clean house. So does maybe a godlike sprint, but the call lands him. Lands on him, they get the dunk off, and Ori almost dies to the remainder of Wukong's command. Victoria able to weave his way out of there with a TP on the tree, which is still bullshit that you can do that, by the way. In my humble opinion.
That was
a good fight.
The best fight that VG Gaming could have hoped for. They completely negated the
That was a
force stuffing Pudge into the shrine.
yeah,
that was
a beautiful activation. Who activated that, by the way?
I think End activated it, and then he got force stuffed by Ori.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so
they made sure they isolated the clockwork then and immediately killed him, and then the call onto AIM was really crucial.
Yeah.
At that point, I think AIM was out of remnants anyway, potentially.
Yeah, still, if
way,
he's not called, then like,
yeah,
he can maybe walk out. He can like, dodge stuff with his with the, what's it called, with the sleight of fist. It was a beautiful call. Once again, reverse cast his curse. I was just saying how Yang wasn't able to get too much done, and he's proving me wrong. So, good on him. And yeah, with that, they get themselves some much needed room to breathe inside of VG Gaming, equalize some of that gold disadvantage they still have. And especially on the Shadow Fiend, the general trend is still there. He's still falling way behind the Invoker, but now he has his BKB, 1500 gold in the bank. He is able to fight more effectively now, just because he doesn't have to worry about all the control factors coming out from Invoker. What's going on here? Yeah, pops the BKB, turns us around, so maybe he has to dodge this fight. Victoria's sitting there on the side, just keeping tabs on the VG Gaming. And, okay, just presents himself, Auto 11, ready with the hookshot. He actually finds the hook on Monkey King, but the ultimate cancelled by the Tornado. Sunstrike will miss. Yang on the side, he gets the call on 1. And Wukong's command, once again, trying to turn us around here, creating a great area for LGD to fight, and then now AIM with a triple render on 3 heroes doing so much damage! VG Gaming gets blown to pieces just with that, and the last man standing, but maybe right on top of him. Has to try and Shikuchi and literally weave his way out of there, but no ultimate at the ready. He has Sunstrike after the roots. Invis is not gonna save you from that one, so maybe beyond godlike with that team fight.
Complete team wipe as well. That was just VG Gaming completely out of their depths. They shouldn't have fought. The moment they needed to pop the BKB, they should have disengaged. But they were really greedy. I think they thought they were outnumbering LGD for some reason. That's at least the way they were behaving, because they all kept moving towards the enemy. As soon as they popped the BKB, they kept moving towards them, and thinking, I think, all right, we needed to pop the BKB. Let's try and fight this.
Yep.
And then they were desperately looking for
the hook onto maybe here. But he gets a tornado off before any sort of lockdown can come through. The Lincoln Sphere also helping him out. And now 3 heroes trying to chase down the Invoker, but the QQ walks super fast. And now the hookshot here. They want to fight this here. Aim sitting there, ready to try and jump in. HYM pulled to the low ground by the Cogs. Now he gets blown up while Yang has to deal with the Clockwork, who's been a menace this entire game. Ya also joins the fight. And that's another 3-man wipe. Maybe make it 4-man here. Ori once again. It's just this 9-second shot down the drain.
20.
I think he should be fine for now, but what can he really do up against... Okay.
No.
Maybe he's not fine. He has to pop the shrine just to stay alive. LGD diving deep to make this happen, but the Sunstrike lands into the Cogs. They get the kill. Another Wukong's Commander chase end away. And Vici Gaming, the second time in a row, just straight up get outplayed.
I think Vici Gaming got a little bit frustrated at the point, the top lane when they were fighting there. I think they felt like they were just clawing their way back into the game, and then they had to, give LGD this little victory. Oh, they just forced out my fresh BKB charge. This Monkey King is just, that has constantly his vision over us. And I think that's why they tried to force a fight there, because they realized, we need to grab a hold in this game. But I think that was just the worst possible position they could have fought in. They had no vision over the enemy. They had no control because they used their BKB as well already. I don't know, it was just really bad positioning from them in total, and I think Vici Gaming just lost a bit of their composure in that regard, in that moment. But yeah, overall I think LGD just outplayed them in both games, like you said. Just downright outplayed them. Old 11, probably my MVP personally, just because he's been outplaying them on pretty much any hero, both heroes, both the Clockwork and the... What was it?
Nyx Assassin last game. Yeah.
Nyx Assassin, right? Nyx Assassin.
Also props to HYM though this game.
Of course.
For VG Gaming, he's been doing what he needed to do in the early game. Just weren't able to quite convert it into something. Just because once again it was more down to LGD just having so much game sense. VG Gaming, it's like they tried time and time again to find things with the Axe Blink and stuff like that to make things happen, to do what their lineup was drafted to do. In the mid game, but LGD just didn't let them for the most part. Right?
They really didn't, and I think this is something that LGD, are really good at. They just, in both games, they really displayed how good they are at making sure they get as much as possible out of the map, and how they do not give away an inch to the enemy. With a lineup like Vici Gaming has in both games, it's really difficult actually to not give away kill for several minutes, to make sure that you still farm as much as possible on your core heroes, and to make sure that you in return even get a few kills. But LGD did it, and I think this is something that allowed them to win this game, the discipline basically.
Yep.
And also just overall game sense. I think Old 11 numerous times predicted whether, or not, maybe it wasn't even Old 11, just in general, the entire team. They predicted where the enemy team was going to be. They predicted where the supports were going to be, and they turned on them.
Yep. All right. End result is much needed 2-0 win for LGD Gaming. I believe that puts them to 9-3 now, which is a pretty good scoreline. They have another game coming up right the hell now, actually, up against CDC, who are a bit of a punching bag. Not as bad as FTD Club C, but CDC also sitting at 3-13 or something like that.
I think they're mathematically already incapable of reaching playoffs.
Yeah, don't think they have too many games left. So CDC is pretty much out. So if LGD can secure the 2 wins, then that puts them in a pretty comfortable spot in regards to playoffs. But CDC, maybe they want to be a bit of a nuisance and want to make that a little bit harder for LGD. We'll find that out soon. For now, though, Skim, thank you very much for joining me. I believe you have to duck out for the second series.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'll let you go. Me, though. It was a lot of fun.
Yep, it was, as always. So go ahead, follow him on Twitter at SkimGaming. While you're at it, you can also follow me at DragonDropDota. New lobby is up, so we're going to take a short break. But we'll be back in about 10 minutes for LGD versus CDC, though, so don't go too far away.